For as long as I've been playing games, the topic of controller versus mouse and keyboard has been front and center. Even if you scroll through the comments on any of my videos, you'll see people claiming controller isn't viable as you climb the ranks, that it's simply just a gimmick. While I agree that nobody on controller is anywhere near pro play, I have to say the gap is due in majority to the user and not the hardware. With simply some mainstream attention and optimization, I think gyro has the potential to close this gap, but not all the way. While I can see controller reaching high-level Faceit or MM rank, pro play is a completely different story. It'll be easier to explain if I split it into a few parts. Aim seems to be the main discussion when it comes to controller and Counter-Strike or other FPS titles without aim assist. And I'm going to start by saying I'm not making any claim that joystick has a place in Counter-Strike, for aiming at least, but gyro or motion controls are the way to go. In short, gyro uses a sensor within the controller to track its movement, then translating the movement to your screen. It's essentially a frictionless mouse. Gyro sensors are present in the DualSense, DualShock 4, and many other controllers like the Switch Joy-Cons. While you not only have more control over your input, but it's way more versatile. To hit targets this small with the joystick consistently, you would need an extremely low sensitivity, effectively taking yourself out of fights you're not fully prepared for, but this isn't the case at all for gyro. It's also important to note that gyro has no center point unlike a joystick, meaning it's much easier to track a target, which is changing directions. Additionally, a quick look at Leadify will show it doesn't seem to be my aim holding me back either. With this, you're also free to bind right stick however you like, whether that be regular look controls, flick stick, or you could even bind it as another 4-way button pad. If what I said just sounds like gibberish, you should check out the inspiration for this video, Why Controllers Don't Suck in Team Fortress 2 by Solarlight. He breaks these down a little bit more in depth, with great visuals. On to movement. The main question I get asked is if I can b-hop or how I'm b-hopping. And using the touchpad rebounded scroll wheel, it's as simple as swiping up and down, just like scrolling up and down on your mouse. The interesting part is air strafes and counter strafes. After some tweaking, I was able to mock WASD movement. With this, I ended up on a pretty large elliptical zone. This shape makes it easier to not input W or S while air strafing, and the size helps with double inputting while counter strafing. While I definitely don't have the worst counter strafing, the stick is 100% a disadvantage, as I'm having to flick past the center zone, leading to dead time. This can be helped with a precision ring, which keeps the stick more center, but a custom controller like the Alpaca or a future controller could completely get rid of this. That being said, I can long jump well enough to get through most KZ maps and complete just about every skill jump on the MP maps. While I don't have much experience, surfing is possible and a bonus since you can never really run out of mousepad. Learning curve or barrier to entry. I personally think this is the main factor holding gyro back. Many players are either oblivious or unwilling to try gyro after a bad experience. There are very few guides online and even less players to look up to. The setup is finicky, the initial feeling is awkward, it's just not friendly. But as more games recognize and adopt gyro, there will be more native support and settings, cutting out a lot of the nuances. This has already started happening with games like COD, Fortnite, and even the finals already adding native support. On top of this, not every controller has gyro. If I had to throw a number out there, I would say 50% of the people who own controllers either own an Xbox One or a third-party controller which also doesn't have gyro, effectively cutting out half the potential player base. When gyro becomes a more profitable market, Microsoft and other companies will follow Sony's footsteps, potentially even reaching into the PC controller scene. And with all this being said, I think controllers and pro play is a long shot for a few reasons. Gyro hardware and remapping software has some ways to go with polling rate and other factors. Every software has its drawbacks, and while remapping could soon be unnecessary, it's the reality right now. Also, controller companies don't seem very interested in pushing the limits or improving even, especially compared to the mouse industry. As I said, an increase in popularity could also drive companies to innovate. This brings me to my last point. It's way bigger than going pro at this very moment. My biggest point is, controller doesn't suck. That's the whole point of this video. While CS seems to be hyper-competitive, even compared to other FPS games, it's still one of the biggest shooters on the market. There's bound to be a huge number in the casual scene. Not everyone is worried about can they go pro or not. Some people just like to play games for fun. Controller is not only a viable input, but could also be a path to entry for thousands of new players. No pro or high-level player has any incentive to switch. But what does someone with 0 hours of Counter-Strike and mouse and keyboard experience have to lose? If Gyro had even half the player base of mouse players, who knows what's possible? I'm going to close this out by addressing the people already on controller, as most of this has just been a direct comparison to mouse and keyboard. I've spent a decade playing games on controller, and man do I wish someone made this video for me a long time ago. Not only are you missing out on games you otherwise wouldn't touch, the feeling of actually putting in the work and being rewarded powers anything I achieved with the joystick. Since switching, not once have I even had the urge to go back and play any game with aim assist. Competitive esports with aim assist are a joke.
Using dynamic aim response curve type, it has been by far the best one. I feel like it pretty much helps you aim at everything. It gives you a ton of aim assist. Everyone complains about aim assist with controllers.
It's only a matter of time before it's completely phased out. Switch to gyro now before it's too late.
Window. Oh, nice shot. Cat.
Damn, nice shot, fucked hard. Dude, what the fuck is he talking about, man? Wow. Wow. Fucker's got a cannon on him. 3, 2, 1.